Hello, once again, everybody, and welcome to Heart and Soul Connected. I'm Allie, and today I'm going to talk about the Lovers, the sixth card in the tarot, as an archetype. This is the Rider-Waite deck, and many other decks are very, very different than this. But one thing that I've noticed in every deck is that the Archangel is above the Lovers, and the Lovers are usually always naked, which means they are innocent. They don't know what's going on. And they, through my research, this is supposed to be the Archangel Raphael. In other cards, I see the man with a choice between two women. So, yes, this is a choice card. And the information that I found out about it in different text and in different publications have brought me to a new understanding of this card in different ways than I would have thought originally. I remember when Biden was running for office and you get the Joe Biden card, but then somebody would say that this represented a partnership between Biden and Kamala Harris. And, I understand that. I can see that. As being one interpretation. And once again, I am not the be all end all on the interpretations of tarot cards, but I am always interested in how the archetypes play out. And that's why this series was made. So it's important to me, the Jungian perspective, the archetypal, and also mythological in some ways, because this really does represent the Garden of Eden in a lot of ways. We have the serpent over here who's tempting with the apples. And, there's just a lot of imagery. And there's a mountain that is between the lovers, if you'll notice down the bottom. And there are clouds between the lovers as well. And, if you're just looking at the imagery, you could say, well, sometimes there is a mountain between us. Sometimes there are cloudy days that discourage us when we have partnership. And so but the sun is out. You can see the sun in the background and the angel is watching. So that's an important distinction, I think, in the Lovers cards. But I read over and over again that many people really don't understand this card, that it's one of the most misunderstood cards in the deck. So I thought to myself, well, I really want to dig a little bit further with regard to that. And again, just another idea, not necessarily the truth, as there is no, truth. I am really enjoying doing these, I want you to know, and I apologize for maybe being away for a few days, but without electricity and internet, and with my roof leaking rain into my house, I've been a little bit busy. So I thank you for your patience. And I also know you don't care how long it takes. You just want them separately. And I'm glad you do. Me too. Thank you. So the lovers could represent parental figures, custodians of an authoritarian force. They are semi-divine in nature. And of course, we've already said, or I've already said, they represent choice and responsibility, or love and lust, I say. This is important. I belong to an existential Facebook group, and it said, they ask these existential questions all the time, like, what is the difference between love and lust? And there's a lot of really good answers. My answer was age. And I don't even necessarily mean age with regard to knowledge or the ability to transcend one's physical, but age also comes with wisdom and comes with discernment. And there are a lot of things that older people can sustain more so than younger people when, let's say, lust goes away and love takes its place. So it's important to mention. Choice takes place in this card in the area of consciousness, which is the ego and the subjugated. One of the things I want to say is that the ego, when it presents itself, spends its time mostly in the physical world. And when it's subjugated, it is suppressed. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later. But it did say that this could also be partnership, pairings, it could be siblings, it could be romantic love, joy and pleasure, decisions between people, even difficult choices to make, and analysis, and also trade-offs. Sometimes, well, most of the time in any relationship that you have, whether it be a male, female, mother, child, or adult child, bosses and co-workers or workers, there's a trade-off. We don't always agree on everything. And when we're mature, our trade-off can be discerned and can be worked out. When we're not mature, and when we live in the world of ego, then we remain childlike in so many ways. And it reminded me last night of Lauren Boebert during the State of the Union address, screaming out things like she was, still in the 7th grade. So I don't know. Anyway, cooperation and communication and duality is also seen in here, male and female. And they are naked because being naked means they're open and they're vulnerable to falling in love or working something out. And they're not aware yet of their shame. Once they have their shame, and that comes from the biblical Garden of Eden, where Eve eats the apple and then realizes she's naked and has to cover herself up, very, very, very second chakra as well. And so we're at the root, and then it goes up to the orange chakra in our sacral area, and that's where shame lies. This is also could be a card for the lovers, could be Gemini, could be a Gemini card. This most understood card is because most people see it as the temptation of the Garden of Eden, but there are other things that are included in here that if you dig just a little bit deeper, we have finding yourself as an individual or individuation, stopping to ponder between two paths or options or people. But the lovers mean business when they do this. So yes, if you're asking about, should I do this or this is the card that would come up maybe for you that would say, you got two options, or a card might come up. I got this, I love this guy, but I also love this guy, or I love this woman, I also love this woman. I love this guy, but I like my freedom. Choices, decisions, always. Adam is the consciousness, and he is what we consider to be nature and the rational mind. But he looks to Eve on the card. He looks at her and he's seeking guidance. And where is Eve looking? She's looking up. She's looking at the angel. She's looking up. So we've got the eyes going in different directions. And it tells itself story right there that he looks to her, but she looks to above. I love that. Eve is the unconscious mind or the superconscious. And, it's just very telling. There is a very interesting thing about this mountain. In where I was reading it, it said it looks very phallic. And yeah, I guess I could see that as well in this card, in the way that it is done. The sun becomes a dominant because love is a life force, just like the sun. We say we're in love. We love tacos and we love to read and we love to take naps and all those things. But really, love is between us and the other, whether it be ourselves, our children, our animals, our spouse, our friends, whatever it is, there is that connection that brings us to that point. The apple, of course, brings the forbidden fruit. It also brings awareness, and this brings power to us. When we have awareness, we have power. I remember saying so many times over and over again, when you know something, when you have heard something and you've learned something, and it, especially spiritually, you cannot unknow that thing. You can turn away from it, you can argue with it, you can do anything you want with it, but it is known. You can't, it doesn't just go away. I also say that about income taxes. When I used to do income taxes, and people would say, "Well, you did the taxes. I don't know if they're right or not. And it's not my problem." I'm like, "It's very much your problem." Because, or they say, "I don't want to pay taxes," or I'm going to cheat on my taxes," or whatever they say, or people say. And I would say, and once you know, you're responsible for that information. But because the Internal Revenue Service realizes most people use that as an excuse, they say it doesn't matter whether you know it or not, as far as this is concerned. That it is information that you can find out, and that you are still responsible, whether you knew it or not. Okay. So in that case, the lovers becomes us and the government in this case, or us and the Internal Revenue, and how we bring ourselves together. So this awareness, again, brings us to what it is we are choosing. We are then taking control of our destiny, and that's going to be very important. Over here, we've got 12 figs. The 12 figs represent fire, and they also represent the 12 astrological signs. And so, they may be behind him, but they matter just as much. And then, of course, we've got an apple tree over here. Okay. One of the things about the mountain, the phallic look to the mountain, is that MT mountain. I'm sorry. The word in Hebrew that has been on some of these cards means penis. So I found that very interesting. It also means that the up and down roll of going up a mountain and down a mountain, up and ascending, is very difficult to do, and that's what we do continuously in our lives. We're up this mountain, we think we're okay, we're up here when everything looks great, but we start down here and we're back down in the valley again, and we're not real happy about it. We don't know how to get back up that mountain again. But this is the way it goes. I remember a therapist once saying to me, "Okay, you're going up a mountain and it's very curvy, and it's hard. It's a hard incline. And what are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to keep going. I'm not turning around." And she said, "Good. Then that means you're making progress in your own growth, because you know that there are hills and valleys. There's a lot of difficulty that can come. And yet at the same time, we can get through that difficulty as well." The other thing, and I did mention it, was that the mountain is between Adam and Eve, or between the lovers. That might signify, that sometimes there are barriers between us, no matter how hard we try. The green grass that's below means fertility. And number 6, which is what the card is, the 6th card, is very interesting. It means 2 + 2 + 2 in the Kabbalah. T is the word for it, the word Zain, which means penis or sword. Those things I think are very, very interesting. We don't dig deep enough to find them usually. We look at the cards, we say, that's great, we match them with each other, but we're not looking at them for specificity in our own situation, or knowing exactly what we want. I thought it was interesting. It also represents keen perception. It says that this card brings up very big the sense of smell. And I don't know about you, but remember back in the 90s when they started making cologne with pheromones in it, where, you wanted to attract a man, you wanted to attract a woman. I think it was Calvin Klein that did it. And that is how we attract or repel each other. The pheromones the scent that we have can attract, and there's so much more that could attract somebody. Wide hips attract men for birth, things like that. But the smell I thought was very interesting. And most of us don't like, to be close to somebody who doesn't smell very good. Maybe they're all sweaty from work or whatever. The Lover's card reminds us, if we don't make a decision, this is important. if things are coming your way and you have a decision to make and you do not make the decision, you can be assured, that if it's meant to be that you were to look deeply into this situation, that the decision will be made for you. And people don't like that at all. They complain about how it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. It just happened. And, they don't remember that it was their decision all along to change the way things were in order for a different outcome. So I can say that my roof leaking, I made a decision to do a sort of cosmetic thing to it or a Band-Aid approach. And now my decision was faulty. So the roof leaking is no one's fault but my own. I should have had this problem taken care of at the beginning. And then when it started doing it again and again and again, I should have handled it because the decision then was made for me. And now I'm in it. I'm in it, and it is my own fault. The decision in spiritual or relational status must come from the heart and not from the head. Many of the psychics have told you, you're not listening from here when you're talking to the other side or you're trying to get information or whatever. You must listen from here. The minute you change the focus from here to here, you lose it. It's gone. You don't get any more information. And it has to do with heart-centered work. So that's an important thing. Some traditions say that this card is a choice about choice, but it's also about love as a spiritual choice. I find this fascinating, this whole topic fascinating, because whether you knew or not, I've been married 4 times, and the first 3 were not spiritual choices. They were physical choices. They were perhaps lustful choices or whatever it was. But we really, if we want to learn and grow and live with somebody that we can live with, we have to make a spiritual choice. And it's very helpful if they can also make the same choice, although we can learn and grow from people that are not spiritual. If we really want to live a spiritual life, it's very difficult. It can be very difficult. And I know that a lot of people stay with somebody and don't go into spiritual awakening because they're not comfortable having to leave that person behind, or there's some other thing that's holding them back. I think that's why the monks or other people say, well, if you notice, all spiritual people are single, the monks and the Dalai Lama and some of those other folks. But I think you can work in concert with somebody that you have something spiritually, some basis spiritually for that choice. But again, it's your choice. It's never the choice of anyone else or any card to tell you what to do. The purpose of uniting into the mystical wholeness as a personal evolution is seen in this card. If you want to merge into mystical wholeness for yourself, this is seen as that. Remember, we have both male and female sides, and even Plato has something to say about that as well, and how we started out, and soulmates and that kind of thing. And that would be something I think, if you're interested in, you should look into, because it's a fascinating topic. To love fully, we should choose a hero who can manage their own fear for a new Garden of Eden. You don't want to be trying to manage your own fear and someone else's fear as well. And these things come with maturity. I think it's really hard. We think we have to be partnered up, or at least the baby boomers did. We thought we had to before 30, or we were just going to lose everything and miss out on everything. And I think the younger people are a lot smarter than let's say, their parents and grandparents in that regard. But it's a different world. So we have to say that as well. Desire can consume us in middle age. Look what it does. We've seen it in all kinds of movies and all kinds of situations where what is it, American Beauty, where he gets the new car and then he gets the younger, more bright or shining a partner, and he feels young again, and blah, blah, blah. We also are always tempted, this card wants to remind us, with choices that possibly could lead us into other issues, such as violence, cheating, leaving. And it is easier than confronting what it is that you need to do for yourself. Until sexuality rears its head, when we're about 16, 15 years old, most people appear content to act out on their parental expectations. I thought that was fascinating and so true. It's very rare that the partner that our parents would choose for us is someone we would choose for ourselves, and yet they are the ones that can really tell us who we are in a lot of ways when we're younger. Very true. Very, very true. The Lover's card breaks us from constraint to freedom. The angel is to work with these people collectively as a unit. And at a time when we base choice on our own desires and responsibilities. So this almost screams to me to have a more mature love, to wait for mature love, and then you'll have the angels on your side. Just my thought. Doesn't mean it's true. The philosophers say we're all hermaphroditic or unsexual. Let's put it that way. And even, I guess, in the world card, the person that's in the middle of the world is hermaphroditic. It doesn't make it man. It doesn't make it woman. But it says that we're always trying to find our unity. In this case, they use the hermaphrodite as the image of somebody trying to be pure and then finally integrate their sexuality and their gender. And now we know there's a lot of transgendered people. There's a lot of people who obviously are in the LGBTQ community. And there's a lot of different ways that sexuality and gender has been defined, all in this new world. Triangular position of the three entities is important, if you'll notice. What's the most important part of this card? It's not the people, it's the angel. If you watch a film and you've got a film and you see the framing of the film and you'll see two people here and one person in the background, that is the main focus. That is who they want you to look at. There's also all kinds of different things going on between the people. If they face each other, if they face the front, if they face sideways, that's very adversarial. In this case, if they're facing this way, one's facing this way, one's facing the other way, all of those things. So I want you to realize that you're seeing all these things play out all the time by watching movies, by looking at body language, by looking at the way people interact with each other. Very telling. And very accessible to all of us should we wish to look at it. Most of us don't really want to. We don't think it matters, but it really does. When we finally surrender, we get a glimpse of something greater than ourselves. When we finally surrender to love, to the mystical union, to the love and integration of the other, or the mystical, or the Godhead, it's described actually as sexual ecstasy, which isn't something that we would have thought. It has the same, that's why when Rumi, the Persian poet, was spinning and spinning and spinning and writing poetry, and they called his dancing ecstatic dancing. He was feeling the energies all around him, and he was feeling above, looking like he was above looking down. He integrated the mystical interaction. The lovers are ordinary people wanting to access higher or the extraordinary. I say this is also exemplified in the idea of woman either as Madonna or whore. And yet number 6 is completion as well. It's completing the cycle. It's completing the cycle and offering us all a look into the mystical union between physical flesh and the divine. A lot of stuff here. Thanks, everybody. I'm really enjoying you and the series. Thanks for leaving me comments and letting me know what you think. I always welcome other ideas. Thanks.